Ladies and gentlemen, the news on the Emantic E.J. Bradford Jr. shooting at River Chase Galleria is just taking so many twists and turns now. But I first want to start by saying the suspect that did the actual shooting was captured in Georgia. All right. And this article came out from WAFB 9, and he apparently left the state and he was captured in South Fulton County at a relative's home. He has been charged with the attempted murder of 18-year-old Brian Xavier Wilson, who he was having the argument with at the mall. And this picture that you see right here is Emantic Bradford Jr., who was not even involved in the argument. All he was trying to do was run from the bullets just like everyone else, and he was trying to help other people too. And this cop, off-duty cop, came up and just killed him. And I did a previous video earlier telling you there were 3 shots from behind. One hit his head, the other one hit his neck, and the third bullet hit his lower back. So he was moving away from the cop, so there's no way he was a threat. But we've seen this so many times. And to add insult to injury, ladies and gentlemen, the police will not release the video up at the mall. There is an actual video that captured the moment that Emantic was shot, and the cops are refusing to release it. They're not releasing the name of the cop, and they're doing the usual things. You know, this reminds me of Mike Brown. If you guys remember Mike Brown, they presented a very edited video of Mike Brown. And they tried to make him look as menacing as possible. Well, you all know by now they did that to get Darren Wilson off. Okay, the video was edited in a way so that Darren Wilson could walk. And if you remember, 2 years after the Mike Brown shooting, they admitted Mike Brown did nothing wrong. They had nothing to lose by admitting it 2 years later because Darren Wilson was already free. They had nothing to lose. So now when I hear about these cops withholding video evidence, it just brings back Mike Brown. They are going to doctor this thing up to make it look like, well, when the cop got there, he didn't know what was going on. He feared for his life and he didn't know who the suspect was. He thought he saw this guy. He thought this was the guy and he just shot him. You know, they got to come up with, you know, they're doing 3 things. They're scrubbing the internet of any information that this cop put out there. They are editing the video, and they're coming up with an alibi that they think is going to sound good to the public. So when they're withholding stuff, they're doing it to buy time. And it's a very telling thing, ladies and gentlemen. If cops were not doing anything wrong, there should be no issue with releasing evidence. The fact that names are being withheld and videos are being withheld and cops' names, and they don't want to give you full details because of investigation, and again, I don't trust cops investigating themselves. I don't even trust another branch of a police force or investigators because they're all in cahoots with each other. We see that with Amber Geiger. It was the Texas Rangers that gave that manslaughter charge. And, you know, what they do is try to get them out of the entire thing. If they can't, they try to go for the bare minimum charge on the cop. So you can best believe they are doing all of this stuff on the behalf of this cop that was off duty in the mall. And I still say, I bet you he didn't identify himself as a cop. I bet you he broke all protocol in that mall. And they know it. So they are going to do everything they can to protect that cop. To hell with the victim. That's how they operate in this country. They do not look out for the best interests of the victim. They look out for the best interests of the murderer. Whoever did the murdering, that's who they look out for. So I'm going to play this press conference that the family had, and the man that you see standing next to Benjamin Crumb is E.J. Bradford Sr., the father. And behind him, you can kind of see the man behind him. That's was E.J.'s uncle. So, you know, one thing I am happy to see are the men in the family coming forward to do this press conference. So it's 47 minutes and 10 seconds long, but definitely worth watching. So I'm going to go ahead and play this video.
Before we start, I want to extend a great debt of gratitude to Pastor Mike McClure for allowing us to be in his church. He preached along with Reverend Jackson an eloquent eulogy for the memory and the legacy of Emantic Fitzgerald Bradford Jr. And we want to extend just our whole heart gratitude to Reverend Jesse Jackson, civil rights icon, who has been standing with families for decades now, and that he's here in Birmingham, the epicenter of the civil rights movement so many years ago that sparked the change in America. We pray, Reverend Jackson, that this tragedy can spark a change to make America a better America. Indeed. Present with me on the podium this morning is the father of Emantic, E.J. Bradford Sr., and the uncle of Emantic, Mr. Anthony Thomas. You may notice the absence of his mother, April Pipkins, and his stepmother, Cynthia Bradford, who have been with us at other press conferences. Well, that is intentional, because what Attorney Rodney Barganier and Attorney Frankie Lee, my most able co-counsels based here in the state of Alabama, are going to share with you this morning is very graphic and it's devastating to this family. And we decided that it would be better if his mother not be here to hear this information divulged because of the overwhelming emotional impact that it will have on any parent losing a child. Mr. Bradford, being a correction officer who worked with the Birmingham Police Department, even though this is very painful to him, he's a little more suited to be able to absorb the impact of what's about to be stated because he's done police work. And Mr. Anthony Thomas, his uncle, wanted to be here for his sister, EJ's mother. What we're offering this morning is based on forensic and objective science. Reverend Jackson, this is evidence that is not debatable. It is evidence based on the scientific process that will help this family get to the truth, because that's all they've been seeking since 9:52 p.m. Central Standard Time on Thanksgiving night. The truth of what happened to EJ. And this autopsy helps us get to the truth of what happened. So we're very thankful to the Alabama State NAACP, to all the activists, Frank Matthews and others who have refused to be silent until we get the truth of what happened to EJ Bradford Jr. I'm going to have Attorney Lee and Attorney Barganier assist me as we go through this report. If you'll show the report aspect of it first, Attorney Lee, and we'll go through it together. You got to angle towards me a little bit. Okay. Okay. You good? Thank you, gentlemen. This is a preliminary anatomical review. On the 30th of November 2018, this forensic pathologist, Dr. Roger A. Mitchell, was asked by the family of EJ F. Bradford Jr. to perform a preliminary anatomical review on their loved one. Name, Emantic F. Bradford Jr., date of birth, June 18, 1997, date of death, November 22nd, 2018. The purpose of this review is to provide the family with general information surrounding the injuries responsible for his death. The review required an in-person conference meeting with Dr. Gregory Davis, MD, Chief Medical Examiner of the Jefferson County Medical Examiner Office located at 1515 6th Avenue, South Birmingham, Alabama, 35233 on November 30th, 2018. This forensic pathologist reviewed all medical legal death investigation photographs from the scene of the death, as well as all the medical examiner's autopsy photographs. In addition to the in-person conference at the local medical examiner's office, this forensic pathologist directly observed the body of Emantic F. Bradford Jr. at Mullins Funeral Home located at 2345 Bush Boulevard, Birmingham, Alabama, on November 30th, 2018. At this time, I will ask Attorney Barganier to assist me. And if we, Attorney, let's go to the third board. Yeah. And you will. Okay.
Okay. Good morning. We're going to continue with the preliminary autopsy findings by our retained pathologist. We're going to talk about the evidence of injuries. There are 3 gunshot wounds of the head, the neck, and the torso. Head, neck, and torso. Now, the order that these injuries are described are not intended to establish a specific order of occurrence.
And as Attorney Barganier reads through the report, I'm going to show you exactly visual description of what the forensic pathologist concluded based on factual evidence. Go ahead, Mr. Barganier.
The gunshot wound to the head. The entrance was back of the right skull, right side of the head.
Mr. Barganier, if you look at this anatomical diagram, you will see the bullet wound is to the back of his head, right near his ear. What's significant about that is all 3 of the gunshot wounds came from the back, which would suggest that EJ was moving away, was running away at the time the police fired the shots at EJ. This is not to suggest that he was running from the police. Witnesses have verified that everybody was running from the gunshots. You hear gunshots, you get away from the gunshot, the scene where they're coming from. And there are many witnesses who also said that EJ was trying to help people also get away. So that's important to note. But this is the first one we're describing, and it comes from the back to the head. Continue, Mr. Barganier.
The wound track, that is the path of the wound, is initially going through the skin, the soft tissue, skull, brain, and eventually there's an exit point above the left eye. And Ben, if you would kind of show on this one, this area right here.
This is real important to note the track of the bullet. It goes through his brain. It comes out right here, right above his left eye. It's from back to front, and it exits out of his forehead right above his left eye. It is very significant. Let me explain something else that we learned during this anatomical medical review that also Dr. Roger Mitchell discussed with the chief medical examiner, and that is the fact that you have this wound here, but you also have a wound right here above his right eye. And that is about to be made very clear to you why this is so significant. Because remember, his parents, witnesses, everybody thought that EJ was shot in the face. And so we're going to explain that in just a second with this next entry wound. Mr. Barganier.
Yeah, as Attorney Crump mentioned, the direction was back to front. But also, in addition to that, it was right to left. So back, moving towards the front, tracking from the right in a leftward pattern up until we get to this area right here. In addition, it's slightly upward. So it's tracking up. So it's going right to left, slightly upward. Gunshot wound to the neck.
Please read that aspect.
Entrance, right side of back of neck at the base. Wound track, that is the direction that the bullet was traveling, through the skin, soft tissue, vertebral bone, and right tonsil or throat area.
That is right here. The bullet never exited EJ's body. It was lodged near his tonsils in his throat. This was evidenced by the x-rays that were taken by the medical examiner of EJ's body after he had been mortally wounded. What is significant, the doctor opines based on the forensic evidence that all of these shots were potentially kill shots. The shot to the head that travels through his brain is a potential kill shot. The shot from the back of the neck to the right is also a kill shot. What is significant, as I said, about why we all assumed it was a wound to his face, Dr. Mitchell explained to the family that once he gets this shot here and coupled with the shot to the brain, it is suggestive that E.J. Bradford lost all control of his motor skills. And so he has this wound right here, and then he falls with dead weight, face forward. The bullet hits him in the back of the head, exits out the left side, believes it was slightly turn his head, and when he hits the ground, face forward, causing major trauma on this side of his face. So when you see him on the social media videos and he's face down with the blood pooling around his head, and you can see part of his face and it shows a gaping wound, that is what was explained to us why we may have been mistaken that he was shot in the face, but it is clear. It is clear unequivocally, without any doubt whatsoever, E.J. Bradford Jr. was shot 3 times from the back while he was running away, while he was moving away from the police.
As Attorney Crump mentioned, again, the direction of travel of the bullet was back to front. But this one also, our retained doctor has opined, Dr. Mitchell, is that it was steeply upward. So that is, it's entering here, the base of the right part of the neck. It gets lodged in his right side of his throat, tonsil area, but it has to be steeply upward, according to our experts.
And after we go through the report, we will explain the significance of that with great specificity. And it is significant. Let's go to the second. Let's talk about the third shot.
Absolutely.
And Attorney Lee, as well as Mr. Bradford, both have police experience, and we will talk about that in the end when you hear from Mr. Bradford about the significance of that. The third wound.
Third gunshot, it's a wound of the back. Now the entrance point is the right side of the hip area. The wound track that is the path that the bullet is traveling, is through the skin, soft tissue, hip bone, abdominal contents, abdominal wall. The bullet was recovered, if you would, Attorney Crump, the bullet that was traveled from this area was recovered where you see that X lodged right there. That is in his belly area.
And you see that we know exactly where the entry wounds are and exactly where all the bullets either exited or became lodged. And this is because of the x-rays.
Again, a very, very good point. These were x-rays that our experts saw at the Jefferson County Coroner's Office, which showed post-mortem, which showed the bullets still being lodged in certain areas of EJ's body. Direction of travel, again, it's back to front. So back, and it travels to the foremost or front part of EJ's body. And it's upward. It's traveling upward. You mentioned the laceration above the face.
Yeah, read that last part.
Sure. The laceration of the right side of the face at the eyebrow is consistent with falling face forward on the right side of the head.
This is the major trauma where he fell with dead weight forward, hitting his right side of his head. So he had serious trauma above his left eye and very serious trauma right above his right eye. And so right now we want to, I'll get that there. Let's get Mr. Bradford up here and Mr. Thomas. And we'll say just a few points before you hear from E.J. Bradford Sr. Make no mistake about it, the conclusions based on Dr. Roger Mitchell, who is a forensic pathologist who was retained by the family to do a preliminary anatomical review, concludes that the cause of death is gunshot wound to the head, neck, and back in the lower right hip region, and that the manner of death is homicide. This family was requesting equal justice for EJ. EJ for EJ. Now they are demanding equal justice for EJ after what has been revealed based on this forensic and objective science that is not debatable, that EJ was shot running away 3 times in his head, his neck, and his back. This family is demanding that whatever would have been done to EJ had he shot a police officer, that he gets the same due process of the law afforded to him. We believe, based on this forensic evidence, that this officer should be charged with a crime. There's nothing that justifies him shooting EJ as he's moving away from him. You're not a threat when you're running away. If that was anybody else who shot somebody 3 times in the back, it would be justified that they'd be charged with murder. So we wait for the officials to tell this family why this officer is going to be given any kind of different treatment than anybody else will be given who shot and killed a human being in such a reckless manner. We met with the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency, as well as the district attorneys. And they expressed to the family their heartfelt condolences. And they also expressed that they were going to work effectively and efficiently to get the truth out, to get all the answers out. They strongly encouraged us to ask, to beg, to plead any witnesses who were there at that mall to please come forward and give your firsthand account of what you witnessed on Thanksgiving night at the Hoover Galleria Mall when this Hoover off-duty police officer who was working private security for the Galleria Mall shot and killed E.J. Bradford Jr. as he ran away. On behalf of this father, this mother, and all their family, if you know something, come forward. So there will be no reason to withhold this investigation being concluded and all the videos being released so we can all see for ourselves what happened. But they want the witnesses to come forward before the video is released. So let's don't give any reason for the investigation to be. You can believe your mentor, Dr. Martin Luther King, said, justice delayed is justice denied. And with that, you'll hear from a very devastated father and uncle representing their family, Mr. Emantic Fitzgerald Bradford Sr.
As you can see by looking at the autopsy report, what had, was transpired.
And Mr. E.J. Bradford Sr. has a unique perspective, not only as a father, but also as a correctional officer. And if you would proceed, Mr. Bradford.
Situation that happened is very wrong. EJ's mother and my wife, we never had a conversation with my son ever again, many times that they talked. But as you see from the evidence, my son was not posing a threat. And if you walked up from behind my son, you should have gave him command, verbal command, drop the weapon. You shot him from the back, as y'all can all see. 3 times my son was shot. When you walked up on that person, he did not pose a threat to you. You could have taken him down without even having fired a shot. That's not proper police training. I don't know where he got it from, but that's not how Birmingham does it. Hoover got their own setup. Birmingham does theirs a different way. But that was wrong. My son was murdered by this officer, and that was cowardice. You shot a 21-year-old person running away from gunfire, never posed you a threat, never had nothing in his hand. Why did you shoot him? You can't explain that to me because that ain't training. That's cowardice. You're a coward. I'm telling you here on national TV across the country, you're a coward as an officer. Where did you get that training from? A weapon and you just fired. Open fire on a defenseless person. Defenseless. A bullet lodged in my son's throat. My son couldn't even scream. You think that makes me mad? Yeah, it pisses me off because I'm his father. What you have done was destroyed my family. His mother, my wife, his siblings. There's no justice if you get off with this. You will not get off with this. I will make sure. Hoover, you need to do the right thing on this one because it's wrong. He needs to be charged with a homicide because that's exactly what it is. It's murder. As a parent, you can't explain that to no one. How did you justify shooting my son? I'm not going to hold everything that you think you've done is right. You're wrong. And I hope you watching this morning while you at home in the comfort of your home. My son ain't going to walk through the door no more. He's never going to see his mother or my wife or his siblings. You need to think about that while you sit back on paid administrative leave. You're wrong. And I'm going to tell you like that. Hoover, you need to do the right thing on this one. Because right now, as you can see, the facts speak for themselves. The whole country. And I want y'all to understand that. The animosity that I have right now is eating me up. Laying down every night trying to call. I'm in the night calling my son name, asking where he at. I did not sleep good last night. But when justice is served, then I'll sleep. Right now, I'm not going to sleep until I get some peace. You will never have no peace until you are charged for a murder of my son.
And now we'll hear from the uncle of Emantic, Bradford Jr.
My sister wanted to come here today so bad, but I knew how graphic this was going to be. I told her I would step in for her, and I came to represent the day. I'm here to tell you, you coward, shot my nephew in the back 3 times. In the back. That was not Kool-Aid y'all mopped up off that floor over there. That was a part of me. Capital murder. That's capital murder. I don't care how you look at it, it's capital murder, and it ain't right. Heads got to roll from the top to the bottom. From the top to the bottom. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Get it right. Get it right.
Mr. Bradford, y'all. We have Reverend Jackson, you and Pastor Mike. I know Attorney Barganier and Attorney Lee have the Alabama code that they know like the back of their hand. And Attorney Lee was a police officer for 13 years before he became an attorney. So with that, and I know Attorney Frank Matthews has been keeping us aware of the history of previous incidents that have happened in Hoover. So we are investigating to know if this is a pattern and practice of them using excessive force against people of color. And with that, we will try to take a few of the questions, obviously knowing this is very emotional for his father and his uncle. Yes.
You mentioned, you asked that Hoover did the right thing. Last hour, the city of Hoover came out and said that it would not release any additional information, saying that to not release any additional information until the investigation is over. Your reaction to that?
We are trying very hard to take them at their word that they're going to be transparent, that they want to do a thorough investigation so that the district attorney will be able to bring charges once their investigation is complete, if charges are warranted. And so we are trying very hard to take them at their word, but it's very difficult for this father and this family after they were lied to before. And so with all the expressions of condolences and sympathy, it is still very difficult just to accept it that they're going to do right now. They're looking for when that has happened before in Alabama, when a young African American had been shot by the police, and that the long time of the investigation wasn't suggestive that they were trying to find a way to exonerate the officer of any wrongdoing. So right now, without having the video released, we know based on this autopsy report, it tells us how E.J. Bradford Jr. was killed in cold blood on Thanksgiving night.
Until the tapes are revealed, it's a cover up. Until the tapes are revealed, they're covering up.
Okay, right here and then you, Jay. You had a question, sir?
On that, and this might be for Frank and the protesters, but I guess your message to the protesters in wake of this and Hoover's decision, do you have any concerns about escalating emotion?
Well, unfortunately, we're going to have the preachers pray for peace, but as Reverend Jackson said, peace is not the absence of justice and noise. We want the presence of justice. That's peace, the presence of justice. And until EJ gets justice, this family isn't going to have any peace. No peace. And I think that's what the activists are saying. And Pastor Mike can say something briefly to that point.
I've been trying my best to be a voice of reason. I put my influence and equity on the line by going to Hoover and standing with them. I can be viewed as a betrayer by the people that God chose me to lead, because I'm trying my best to be like Dr. King, a voice of reason. Amen. But I need Hoover to hear us. There can be no healing or peace unless there is complete transparency.
No more.
And in a peaceful relationship, it calls us for two parties.
Yeah.
In the middle saying, protesters, please be peaceful. But at this point, if there is no clarity from the city of Hoover, all we can do is pray. And I will continue to pray. But at this point, I stand with them saying, release the information so this family and our city can begin to heal.
Give us your side. And Reverend Jackson, I guess it was Jimmy Lee Jackson many years ago who they killed in Birmingham. And so in this Jefferson County, Greene County.
And really when these occurrences there's a pattern. Fred Hampton was killed in Chicago, was killed in his sleep. Somehow they say he incited them to kill him in his sleep. Trayvon Martin shot going home. The killer walked away free. Michael Brown shot to die and rot in the sun in Ferguson, Missouri. And they say he was trying to steal something from the store. The case in Chicago of police officer shot, killed McDonald 16 times. 16 shots in the cover-up. He had 3 shots in the cover-up. 3 shots. 3 shots in the cover-up. Make transparent the tapes. The quicker the better. But the longer that is sense of cover-up, there's a sense of protest. The protests are righteous. The protests get bigger and stronger every day, because everybody else who's watching this, you're next, unless something happens to be a deterrent to this now. This must stop now.
Yes. And the family has confidence that DA Carr is going to do the right thing once he gets the investigation from Aaliyah. They were all there during the meeting, and they expressed a desire to get it right. We just don't want it to take forever for this investigation to be concluded. And that is what the family everybody is pleading, let's get this investigation done. You have a plethora of evidence. You have the gunshot casings at the mall. You have the video. You have the pathology. You have everything to efficiently conclude this investigation. Pastor McClure, Mr. Matthews, Attorney Bargainer, everybody here, is that the longer this goes on, it's like a powder keg.
Yes.
And we need to, as quickly and as efficiently as possible, conclude this investigation so we can restore the trust that was taken on Thanksgiving night when they defamed the character of his namesake and said he was a criminal, that he has shot those two individuals. And we know that was not true, that E.J. Bradford didn't shoot anybody. Yes, Jay?
The report shows he was shot 3 times, there's no question about that. The police have said that an officer shot and killed him. Did the forensic exam or the doctor, did he give any indication whether it's clear whether the same person fired all 3 shots that hit E.J., or the possibility that this was considered?
Well, he only looked at what the forensic showed him. And based on what he saw was that the 3 bullets were to the back, and the fact that due to the upward trajectory of the wound paths associated with the gunshot wound of the neck and the gunshot wound to the lower back at the right hip, E.J. Bradford would likely have been bending or falling forward when he received those 2 shots from behind. So in his mind, E.J., based on the forensics, you can, without seeing a video, you can show how the trajectory of the bullets entered his body and how he was not in an anatomical position, that he was leaning forward or falling when these bullets hit his neck and hit his lower hip. Attorney Barganier?
Yeah, but to answer your question regarding more than one officer,
We don't know.
Separate shots.
Yeah.
We were sure, but what we do know is that for certainty is that one officer is on paper.
Yeah. Officer was shoot from right of him. We don't want to speculate about things we don't know. We know this forensic pathology report is based on scientific evidence that both the Roger Mitchell, medical examiner Gregory Davis have reports saying we, without a shadow of a doubt, know that his son was shot 3 times from the back while he was running away.
Each shot was a kill shot.
Yeah, we don't want to speculate.
Each shot was a kill shot.
Each shot. Any more questions? Yes, ma'am. He did not. No. Yes, ma'am.
Going on the investigation, Hoover said the state does not want to release the tapes because the tapes may jeopardize the premature release of the tapes may jeopardize the investigation. Do you believe that?
We're trying to take them at their word as challenge, but we're trying to take them at their word. And so we're encouraging everybody to come and offer whatever you saw there. Give your statement so we won't have that excuse anymore for not releasing and concluding this investigation.
In Chicago, that was 400 days and 16 shots.
Yep. Any other questions? Okay, you want to say something right there?
I want to give a statement because everybody from the mayor to the are worried about protests as it relates to their business. The church, their schools. Birmingham, and went down a fire hose and dogs ticked on. So for our children to come to their schools where their children can see where we are not at, no one is going to harm anybody's children. But children in Hoover need to know what happened to our children when we came to your schools. Okay? Secondly, nothing really happened until Dr. King's letter from the Birmingham jail. So we're going to send a letter from Mr. EJ's grave to all the clergy of Hoover. We want to meet with you at Hoover Baptist Church, all of you. And we want to present a letter to you because it was the letter to the preachers from Dr. King that really moved the movement. If we don't get that quick, fast, and in a hurry, and if y'all don't stop playing, now every test we've had it in Kellingham Park by design to keep out of control. Now, they're almost uncontrollable, and I just want to let you know, like Mike said, Mike is standing in the gap and being called everything but a child of God. Now we want, what are you investigating? What in the hell are you waiting on? Say no more, release the damn video.
Well, let me say to young people who do protest, do not the moral authority of J.
Yes.
Don't embarrass them. Don't make any act that undermines the legal process.
Yeah.
We have the best of lawyers. The family is hired. The pathologist report. The burden is upon the state to act and to act now. And those who do protest mightily in a nonviolent, disciplined way. So to keep focus on oneself, we must not let the method be bigger than the victim. The victim is EJ. The victim is not the method. Let the victims, let the actions that are engaged in not discredit EJ.
And we will close it out in prayer for this family. And Ethan Jackson, which both could pray because we need a lot of prayer.
Amen. Hallelujah. Amen.
Let's stand and join hands.
And we thank the NAACP State Chapter of Alabama for your assistance with this family.
Have mercy on us. Give us capacity to hold out through the long, dark night. We will not surrender. Though we cry, we will not into death. Weeping may endure for a night. But joy will come in the morning and justice come. We want the tape revealed. We want justice and fairness now. We pray for the family and its hour of bereavement. Having looked down the face of a son shot. We cover it up. We want transparency and to cover up. Let's go with our lives as civilized people. Amen.
Amen. And Pastor Mike Sheila Tyson, who is also the National Action Network representative, whose president is Reverend Al Sharpton, their rally this upcoming week as well. And so it's a lot of people when Mr. Matthews and others say the world is watching. The world is Reverend Jackson from Chicago, National push. People all over the world in Africa are watching. They had Nelson Mandela's 100th birthday, and they were talking about E.J. Bradford